we see Hillary open up the floor and take questions from reporters at any event?
Well, you see Hillary take questions from reporters every day. She talks to the press everywhere she goes.
She doesn't do it that often.
Well, look, I don't see what the massive difference is between a press conference and talking to the press everywhere you go.
That was Vice Presidential candidate Tim Kaine defending Hillary Clinton's hesitations when speaking to the press. This seems to be her way of operating right now. Sit back and just attack Trump. Leslie Marshall is here. I know you're going to disagree, but it does seem to be a strategy. Some would argue it's a good strategy. Don't make any mistakes. Bunker down. Let Donald Trump do all the running around and make all the mistakes. What do you say?
Yeah, well, I think if you look at the numbers, and I think when you have a two-person race, which it really is, the numbers are going to improve for Secretary Clinton. Look, this is a campaign, and you have to have strategy. You have to do what works for you. And quite frankly, being in large crowds and press conferences like that are not her strengths. She does answer questions in smaller venues. She does answer questions not just from journalists, but also from the public, and she does very good in one-on-one interviews. So that is not her strength. I would like to see her out there and have more press conferences just to get more press. But you know what? I have to wonder. The question is, why isn't Hillary giving more press conferences? My understanding, Ashley, is a press conference is you are announcing, I have something to say. Breaking news. I have new information. That's not really the case with Donald. It's sort of like, same old, and everybody runs every time the microphone
but he
opens,
answers questions, Leslie. He answers
there.
questions and he gives details, and I would say that he's really picked up momentum, that the door has been open for him. He goes to Mexico, looks very presidential, talking to the Mexican president. He's out there. He's hustling. He's going from town to town. He's not making the big mistakes that he had earlier on. He's more restrained. He's more on point, and that's why I think it's tightening up in the polls. And Hillary, meantime, sits there dancing with Paul McCartney in the Hamptons.
Well, first of all, Donald Trump is hated, as is the president of Mexico, with a 23% approval rating. And I don't think he was presidential because it was really just logistically a catastrophe for the people of Mexico for Donald Trump to come and so quickly on such short notice, first of all. Second of all, when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, she met with almost every single world leader. And even though the invitation is there for Mexico, when you have nearly 90+% of the Hispanic vote, you don't need to do that, one. And two, she's not running in Mexico. Donald Trump was there because he knows he needs the Hispanic vote to win, and he doesn't have it.
He also knows there's an immigration problem. Why is it then that Hillary Clinton's disapproval ratings are worse than Donald Trump's?
Well, honestly, I think everybody likes to say that Hillary gets all the good press and Donald gets all the bad press, and I don't agree with that necessarily. I think that when we hear about Hillary, it is negative more so, and sometimes she brings that on herself, and Donald definitely brings it on himself. But he is out there more than she is. He is getting more press. I'm not surprised. And also, Ashley, I know you're going to hate me for this, but at the end of the day, this is a race between a guy and a gal. You know what I'm saying? And I do think that women have a harder time and are perceived differently when they're tough and they're seeking higher positions.
Well, I'll let you slide on that, but I don't necessarily agree in as much that Hillary, I think, is getting a pass from 95% of the media. Anyway, let me ask you this. Hillary Clinton was, you kind of alluded to, dealing with yet another scandal after a newly released email show a top Clinton Foundation executive asking Huma Abedin to get diplomatic passports. I say this a lot. It's the drip, drip, drip of dodgy emails, shady Clinton Foundation operations. And yet, I'm wondering whether really with the voters it either goes straight over their head or they're just numb to it.
I don't think most voters care about the emails in this, and this is why. This is not like, okay, the Clinton Foundation took money from Osama bin Laden and it was directly or indirectly linked to 9/11 or something like that, and lives were lost. I think people know that politicians have favors to people that helped in their campaign, wrote checks to their campaign, and that's why I think we saw such support of Bernie Sanders, because people were sick of, that type of quid pro quo, if you will. I don't think it's uncommon. Hey, look, Reagan met with George Bush's son, George W., if you remember, and helped him, to get a
Right.
job. This is very common, not just in Washington, I think in every area of business, and I think Americans are aware of that.
Final question, Leslie. Interesting that the DNC put out a note today saying, praising the strong jobs report. I have yet to interview anyone either side of the aisle, and just straight down the middle economists who all agreed this is very disappointing, showing that the economy is struggling. Your response?
Well, the economists that I have, including our labor secretary, who I've interviewed, do think they're encouraging. I mean, certainly there are months that fall short of their expectations and months that exceed it. But overall, albeit slowly, we are in the right direction. We're not in or entering back into a recession, and that's definitely improvement from years ago.
Less than 2% growth. Participation rate at a 40-year low. I could go on, but I won't. I'll let you go, Leslie. I'm not a hater, I promise you. Leslie Marshall in LA. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, to Donald
Thank you,
Trump,
Ashley.
the other...